Are we live? I've lost the plot.
Yes, I think.
Can't wait to speak about the Matrix, I just can't wait.
I think we're live, guys. Hello there.
Hey, we're
There we
finally
go.
live,
Finally
Stephen.
cracked
So
it.
if you want to just do a little... You want me to count in here so we
You're
can
fine.
start doing
let's
it?
just get right into this.
Yes,
guys.
man.
We're live, so let's get on with it.
Finally,
Listen,
I'll move over a bit. I'm a little bit
welcome
lopsided.
to another movie review from MBE. Today we're going to be talking about 1999's The Matrix, John.
Yes.
Obviously directed by the Wachowskis, as they're now known. I think we should just get right into it. Time's pressing. We've obviously got a limited time as well.
Yes.
We've got a little extended 10 minutes to what we normally have on our videos anyway. So I'm just going to pass it over to you now, John. You
Yes.
can take us through this experience, all the key points, etc. What you got out of this film, obviously its legacy, etc. So let's crack on with it.
Stephen, I have to say the legacy of this movie, I've wrote in my notes here, is it a modern day classic? I firmly believe it is a modern day classic just because of what the Wachowskis managed to accomplish. The technical mastery of this movie is unparalleled for that year. I mean, it's 1999. You ran through some of the movies which were prevalent in 1999. Some really, really good movies, but very few will master what the Wachowskis actually managed to accomplish with this movie on a sheer technical level.
Yeah.
And then you bring in the elements of a sort of intelligent action movie, something that I've said I love time and time again. I like a good blockbuster, popcorn, balls to the wall action flick as well, but sometimes you like a little bit of cerebral storytelling flung in, and we certainly get that in this movie. There's some really great exploration of themes of existentialism and whatnot. So for me, the movie's legacy is... it's there. It's black and white. You can't argue with it. But Stephen, what did you make about the intro? I don't know if you've got anything to say about the movie's legacy before we crack on.
Really just going back to 1999, John, I do remember it very well because, as I said, the amount of blockbuster films that came out that year, and very good films as well that weren't considered blockbusters. You get the likes of Toy Story 2 that came out, The Sixth Sense, The Phantom Menace was probably the big one of the year. Obviously, the anticipation, 16 years, a new Star Wars film. You had the sequel to the Austin Powers films as well.
Yeah.
Adam Sandler's
Can you
Big
see
Daddy
it?
came out that year as well. The Mummy was another big film, that played in the cinemas. I think that actually had the
Brendan
trailer
Fraser.
for The Matrix and The Phantom Menace when that was doing its cinema run. The Blair Witch Project as well came out. That was a big film, John. Regardless of how you feel about it, it was a
Hate
major
found
film.
footage movies.
A lot of people, did talk about this film, gave it a lot of attention. The Green Mile, another fantastic
Love that,
movie.
fantastic.
American Beauty, American Pie came out that year. I think Pierce Brosnan, I think it was his final Bond film. The World
Thank God.
Is Not Enough. And then you've
Terrible
got your lesser
Bond.
films. I'm saying lesser films, but not Notting Hill. Obviously they're more sort of penned into, pigeonholed into the sort of like
Rom-com,
romantic comedies and stuff like that. Double Jeopardy, another good film that sort of went under the radar.
Fantastic year for cinema.
Blockbuster films like Wild Wild West. It was terrible. So it
Wicked,
kind of
wicked, wicked,
swings and
Wild Wild
roundabouts.
West.
And back to the Matrix, John, I will admit, back in 1999, I was firmly focused on Episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
This film, I didn't see this in the cinema. It's one of my biggest regrets not seeing this in the cinema because you talk about obviously the technical aspects of this movie. We'll obviously do this when we're going through this review anyway, John, but we talked about it earlier. Both of us watched this earlier on today, and I think we both agree that a lot of it holds up very well, but there is parts of it that have dated, unfortunately.
And it's the CG elements of it that have dated, Stephen. This is a primarily practical movie. A lot of real trickery with cameras and spacing them out so you get those amazing slow motion sequences. But it's a movie that has held up very well, Stephen, and you see that right from the get-go in the intro when you've got Trinity absolutely destroying two police units all on their lonesome with Hugo Weaving's Agent Smith coming in and he's speaking to one of the goons and he's saying, look, I sent two police units up. He's officer, your units are already gone. He's just
Men
that
are
calm.
already dead.
Your men are already dead, and they were, because she just wrecks the shit out of them. But Stephen, it's great to see that character, that she's, again, a strong female character 21 years ago. Apparently they only started 5 years ago. Clearly not. I mean, Sigourney Weaver, Carrie Fisher, and the list is endless. Would argue with that, Stephen. Obviously, we get to see an amazing chase sequence with Trinity and these agents coming after her. We see how she's able to catapult herself over huge expanses and whatnot.
You also get an indication early on about the Cypher character. She's having a telephone conversation with him, and he's kind of stalling, delaying the conversation. Are you sure? I can't detect him. Blah blah blah. Because obviously it plays right into his sort of arc later on in the film as well. But it's the first time we get to see obviously one of the characters in the Matrix and how they exit the Matrix as well. It was very confusing seeing that for the very first time. You know, the sort of standoff at the telephone booth, where she's got to run to it, and you've got the truck revving as well.
That's sort of strange audio.
Yeah.
Break up distortion.
Yeah.
And Stephen F says it really is a great way of establishing your antagonist early on in the movie, because we have Trinity performing a superhuman manoeuvre. She's spinning in the air, almost flying, goes through this window.
One of the coppers says that.
Yeah,
that's impossible.
Yeah, it's impossible. Yeah. She's lying at the bottom of the stairs with the guns, expecting these agents to come through the window. So right away, that gets you it gives them a slight air of ominousness, if that's even a word, and I'm pretty sure it is. Just setting up that these guys are every bit as capable of doing manoeuvres like that as a Trinity and maybe obviously a Neo later on in the movie.
Yeah.
But Stephen, I don't know what you thought about the amazing flying shots early on in the movie. The cinematography, it never really lets up. I mean, it starts off really well and it builds upon it as the movie goes on and on and on. And obviously, as you did say, it shows you the ruthlessness of these agent characters as well. The fact they are willing to drive a truck right into a public telephone, something we don't use much these days now.
No.
But it shows you great ruthlessness.
Some of the mobile phones they use as well, John, that's we don't use anymore. But it's just obviously, the time it was made, so you've got to make allowances. But yeah, I mean, just getting back to the sort of introduction to this film, the pacing, was frantic. Absolutely frantic from the get-go. We get to know one of the main characters in the film right away, and what she's capable of. Very impressed with the cinematography. The bit where the sort of overhead shot where you see them making that leap, I think it's more sort of obvious when Neo's going through his training program and making the jump. The CG in that bit was pretty bad, I felt. Yeah. It was very
the warping of the floor and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Stephen, also we get Neo's introduction at this point. He's very much a different man to who will be at the end of the movie. He's this sort of tech-obsessed loner guy. He's pondering existential questions, and as his boss does say, maybe a sequence later, he has a real problem with authority. That's something I love about the character early on in this movie, the fact that he does have an issue with authority. There's my camera went again, so I'll keep talking just now until I've made my point, and then I'll try and sort that out. It seems to happen every time we live stream now. We have issues with cameras, but he has a problem. He's got a chip in his shoulder, and he's not afraid to sort of speak his thoughts aloud, or maybe cast a condescending opposite view. But Steve, we're going to go and sort this out. What's your thoughts on Neo when he get introduced?
It's very interesting, John. Thomas Anderson at this point, when he gets that phone call from Morpheus, I was about to say Morbius there, Morpheus, in his office. I think that's you, John. You just have to fix your Zoom.
Absolute shambles.
When he gets that call and the agents are coming for him, he can't even make that sort of leap of faith, to get to the scaffold and to get up to the roof, and I said to my wife when we were watching it earlier, I said, he can't even do this just now. He can't even, have the confidence to just drape himself around that sort of drain pipe thing, in the building. I wouldn't do it.
It was very high up, Stephen, wasn't it?
It was just horrendous. But
that was a great sequence,
It shows the sort of development in this character, and it's one of the things you do see throughout the film is the development of, from Thomas Anderson to Neo.
And that's something obviously Agent Smith's continually hitting them over the head with. Mr. Anderson, Thomas Anderson.
Yeah.
That great sort of interrogation sequence when he does realise, look, I'm not good at in me. Morpheus is guiding me around this building. He's showing me, he's holding my hand from afar to get me away from these nefarious guys in suits and sunglasses and obviously dodgy flip phones. But he's not got it in him at that point, so he has to then come back. They obviously arrest him, take him away, interrogate him. That's a really good sequence, Steve. And obviously when these two guys, the primary protagonist and the primary antagonist, meet for the first time in the movie, and he's removing his mouth. I think you know the line better than me when he says something about he can't speak, but he removes his mouth. He says, "How are you going to speak if you've not got a mouth?" We get some dodgy CG again, but it serves the purpose. It shows you the power of these guys. They are able to warp reality around them. And then also they're putting this strange bug creature into his belly button, his navel, whatever you want to call it. Very uncomfortable. That ushered up imagery of the Wrath of Khan back in the day when I first watched it. Being a big Star Trek fan back in the day, it slipped as times went on. I think it was Chekhov got it in his ear, so that was a deeply disturbing and uncomfortable scene. But it was a necessary scene, Stephen, because it does get Neo into the same room as Morpheus just a short while later, and that's something that's always necessary for the movie to move forward in terms of the themes it's exploring and just furthering the action in the story itself.
I think, John, as well, Morpheus' introduction, we get obviously the audio, from the telephone conversation, but his introduction was basically the scene. I think it's after they remove the bug, isn't it?
Yeah.
In the car, and just his introduction, he's just got great presence on screen.
Certainly has.
Lawrence Fishburne, he's just an incredible actor. And it's very interesting to see. I don't know, obviously, I've not checked out, obviously, casting for The Matrix 4, but as of the last time I checked, he wasn't involved.
He's the only one it's not, yeah.
And I don't know what's happened there. I don't know whether or not his character's just served its purpose.
I think they're saying
on,
it's going to be in between, Stephen. It's going to be a strange sort of prequel, sequel, and it could be recast by a younger actor who will portray him. I don't know how it worked.
I don't know how that worked either.
Yeah.
It's one of the questions that I'm very interested in seeing how this new instalment fits into the overall arc. But we get the blue pill, the red pill scene, and
absolutely iconic.
It really does beg the question, and I think Cypher actually highlights this later on in the film when they're looking at the actual Matrix on the monitors, and the regret that this character's got in taking the wrong pill, and it's a sort of a underlining theme throughout the film as well, is obviously, live, with, what do you call it?
Ignorance, bliss, yes.
Bliss, and just live your life that way, or do you live with the enlightenment of the new world, if you like, or the way the world is, and the real world isn't the world of the real. As obviously Morpheus says, but it's a great introduction, John.
It really is.
I love that mirror scene. We're talking about CG again. I think that holds up very well. The way the mirror sort of spreads into his fingers and his hands. It starts to get into sort of a panic that is taking over his body. Yeah. And it's just, you can understand a character being introduced to these strangers, and there's a trust thing as well going on. Because he only knows these people by name. Yeah. He's heard of the great Morpheus. And the agent tries to plant some seeds in that interrogation scene, saying he's probably the most dangerous man.
There goes my camera again. What is going on with my camera tonight?
In the world at the moment. So there's got to be trust issues there as well. And whether or not these people are genuine. So it's a great scene.
It really is, Stephen. It really is, and look, it's something I've juggled in my life. I'm a deep thinker, very deep guy. And I've often pondered what it would be like to be a more simple person. Doesn't worry about existential stuff, doesn't worry about what's going on in the world, not to be burdened by it, because there's that burden when you actually know what the hell's going on outside in the world and all the issues. You tend to overthink and worry, and you're burdened by it, and that's a great theme that's explored by the Wachowskis in this movie. I presume it's them that did the script, because I know it's Lana Wachowski who's doing the script from The Matrix 4. So it's very much their baby, I'm pretty sure it is. And it's just really well handled. The way they juggle this existential or ignorance is bliss sort of duology of themes in this movie. It's a really nice handling in the midst of really groundbreaking cinematography, groundbreaking technical stuff, and really great action in general. And you can't get a better guy than Keanu Reeves coming in to do an action movie like this. I mean, I don't know when they done the likes of Constantine. I think it was probably much later on in The Matrix. May have been a guy who hadn't tackled that sort of genre as of yet, and it was groundbreaking for his career as well.
I think it's funny, John, because at the time, personally, I only knew Keanu Reeves through Bill and Ted. Yeah. And he did do Speed, to be fair.
Speed, that's a great action movie. What am I talking about?
But there's something different. This is a different level of action film. There's obviously a sci-fi element and fantasy sort of element as well you've got to take in consideration. But you're right, and he only sort of dabbled at this point in his career in this kind of genre or sub-genre round about the time he was doing the likes of Johnny Mnemonic, which was a very poor film. You know, it had a lot of
That's
potential,
Keanu, isn't it?
and a lot of ideas were, you know, could have been explored in that film. But it's a film I didn't really enjoy. So I've got to be honest with you. You know, when The Matrix came out, I wasn't really. I'm not going to say I wasn't interested in the film because I got the concept. You know, reading Empire magazine or whatever it was back in the day. You know, and the concept and the story and the plot really intrigued me more than the cast. Lawrence Fishburne I knew obviously through films from the early 90s, the late 80s. I didn't know who Carrie-Anne Moss was. Keanu Reeves, as I mentioned, you know, it wasn't really a big pull for me at this point in his career, I've got to be honest with you.
Yeah, I don't think it would have been for many people. When people of a certain age think of Keanu now, certainly my demographic, I don't think of Bill and Ted. I just think of Neo and The Matrix right away, and maybe Speed as well to a degree, being a fan of film. But Stephen, also you touched upon that sequence where the metallic stuff came up. He's getting into cardiac arrest, the shock of finding out what this world really is, or tampering with things in front of him, manipulations going on, and he's reborn into the real world. And I think it's essentially a disgusting, horrendous scene, but unnecessary scene that is very bleak.
Yeah.
You go from real world, humans at their peak, if you'd like, to humans at their absolute lowest. They're being manipulated and just used for the desires of these weird tentacle machinery, sort of machine beings, these AI beings. It's a horrendous scene, seeing him with all that sort of embryonic fluid and stuff like that. He's all got metal things jutting out him. He discovers he's got a gaping metallic thing at the back of his head. It's not good for him. He's getting operated on. There's time sequences. It's jumping obviously in time, but it does lead to a really good sort of, I don't know, history lesson from Morpheus on what befell humanity, the gaps in the knowledge, but what befell with the AI taking over it, leading to the destruction of humanity.
Who scorched the sky?
Yeah, it was humans.
It was the humans. But yeah, I mean, you know, you can really get bogged down in too much explanation, John, but there's something about this film that handles it very well.
Yeah.
And I think that's because you're getting the visuals as well as the narration at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't know whether or not it's just Lawrence Fishburne's soothing voice, you know.
He's got a very, very soothing voice, yes. Dulcet.
You know, that we can listen to this guy all day, but there's something about certain films when they've got to over-explain things that really annoys me. This film doesn't over-explain, but it does explain when it's necessary and how the world came to be. And I think, obviously, you know, there's bullet points in there that have to be explained.
Yeah.
You know, and I think they handled it well.
Steve, that's something that really does excel in this movie. The actual handling of, as I did say, themes, but just pacing.
Yeah.
And the tone of the movie, it very rarely shifts. The pacing very rarely dips. It's not disjointed. This is a 2.5 hour movie and it flies by. First hour sets up the characters.
Yeah. Yep.
Second half's really just balls to the wall action, trying to save Morpheus from these agents. And then the titanic clash between them. Very rarely dips. It doesn't feel like a long movie. It's really, really beautifully paced. That's something that stands out watching this movie. And I hadn't seen it in over a decade prior to watching it today, and just as good for me, Stephen, as it was a decade ago when I last watched it. And it's because of things like Neil's training that comes afterwards, the great sort of sequences harnessing all of this information, 10 hours worth of training, becomes a sort of kung fu master. That moment he faces off with Morpheus, and we've got also the crew of whatever the hell that ship's called. Not even going to try and say that. They're all crowding round, excited because they think he's the chosen one. Could he be the one? Yeah. And he's fighting with Morpheus. Morpheus slapping him down, and he's giving them a lesson on the world as well. It's things like that just keep you enlightened. You keep me going when you're watching this movie.
It's dialogue, John. It's dialogue throughout the action as well.
Yeah.
You know, and you're getting those little sort of, you know, golden nuggets from Morpheus. You know, you're getting the, you know, what is real. You know, do you think, you know, me being faster and stronger is it anything to do with, you know, what we're doing in here? I'm paraphrasing. I can't remember. Exactly.
Yeah. There's no breath. You think this is real. Why you're not working quicker? You know you can move quicker. I don't know why you're not harnessing it and stuff like that.
John, that always impresses me is, you know, the way you know, the visual effects, you know, the motion of Neo's punching at the very end of that sequence, where you actually get Morpheus actually looking at it as if, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
I've never seen that kind of movement before, and I think it's actually Trinity that asks the question later on, how do you move? You move very similar to them. you know. It's a great piece of visual storytelling, you know, and the action sequences as well during the training program. It's very interesting, and you talk about that, Johnny. The first hour of this film is really just setting everything up, but in an interesting way.
Yeah.
You know, you're getting to understand why are the humans living this life. What is the Matrix? You know, and none of it's boring.
No.
There's not a moment in this film where you actually switch off. You're so intrigued. You're trying to learn all this information, very similar to what Neil's doing with all the jiu-jitsu and stuff like that. You just want to absorb everything that they're telling you. That, to me, is perfect storytelling.
It really is, Stephen. He is the audience's view into the world. We go on the journey with him, the journey of enlightenment and growth.
Yeah.
It's a great story, Stephen. The theme I've just touched on, we've kind of spoke about this enlightenment theme in this movie in general. But I've pondered a very interesting question at the same time, Stephen. Is Cypher really wrong to think that ignorance is bliss in this movie? And I've says, because that state would sway me too, especially after watching that sort of gruel, sort of porridge shit that they're eating. I love me porridge, that ain't porridge.
No.
That's some bastardised version of porridge. If I was dangled at a medium steak in front of me, Stephen, I think I would flip-flop with Cypher back to the agents.
I think, again, John, the Wachowskis are pondering that question, aren't they, you know, to the audience. What would you do? You know, the red pill and the blue pill all over again.
Yeah.
You know, and
sometimes ignorance is bliss.
I had a fillet steak for my dinner, purely based on watching this film again.
Yeah.
It's one of the best scenes. If you are a meat eater, you know, you will get it.
Yeah.
But I don't know, John, you know, like any film, you know, I'll take obviously Star Wars as an example. Darth Vader doesn't think he's a bad guy in the film.
No.
He thinks he's doing the right thing. Cypher, I'm not comparing to Darth Vader by any means, but he's
more a sort of...
He's a loner. You
Yeah.
know, he's looking after himself, but he thinks in his own sort of mind that he made a bad decision. You know, he is a jealous little guy, let's be honest with you. You know, don't remember you bringing my dinner to me, you know, that kind of thing.
It's because you're not Keanu Reeves, you're a little bald guy. Get over it. You ain't get that head of hair.
No.
And you've not got youthful eternal.
There's just something about him, but he does believe that he is doing the right thing for himself. That's the difference.
Absolutely, Stephen. And look, who can blame him with that steak? Because it did look like a very, very good steak. But you're right, in his eye, that's what's great about little minor villains and even antagonists themselves. And we see that with Hugo Weaving later on in this movie. From their point of view, they are right. And that's what all the good antagonists have. Nobody likes a 2D cardboard villain in a movie now. You want some nuance. They were doing this 21 years ago in this with minor players like Cypher and even the big bad like Agent Smith. Yeah. And it's really beautifully handled again, Stephen. Another thing it's beautifully handled is the introduction to the Oracle, this ancient sort of figure who is all hearing, all seeing, all whatever omnipotent being. And we get little Yuri Geller in there. Anyone who's knowledgeable about old Yuri will know what I'm talking about. The little spoon bender.
It is not spoon bending. Yeah.
It is me or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And we got all the little potential chosen ones in this room. They're juggling little blocks and stuff. Yeah. It's a really cool scene because, quite frankly, she lies through the skin of her teeth. Is that even the saying? To Neo, she tells him, "Look, you're not the chosen one." But that's exactly what he needs at that moment. He's not ready to process being this chosen one.
The clues in the knocking over of the pot, you know, the vase. I thought that was very clever. You know, very well written scene. Those cookies as well were exceptional. They
did look good.
You know,
yeah.
I could have went one of them after.
Could go one right now, Steve.
But yeah, I mean, it sets it up nicely, and if you actually listen to the Oracle's dialogue throughout this scene. She's basically telling you, you know, it's not obvious. It's not obvious first time viewing.
Yeah.
You know that this is what he needs to hear at this point in time.
He's not ready.
I think she's not lying to him in any way.
No.
Well, she's kind of bending the truth a little, but
it's like Alec Guinness.
Yeah,
from a certain point of view.
Yeah, exactly, John. That's a good explanation.
It's information he needs at that moment, and when he's mature enough, then he can process it.
That's it. You know, it's just set up that way. You know, Morpheus doesn't believe what the Oracle is saying is correct. I know that it says whatever was said in that room stays between you two. Paraphrasing again.
Yeah.
You know, but
close enough.
He believes, you know, he believes in Neo. He believes that he is the one, and he is proven right at the very end of the film anyway. But he never gives faith is, you know, a big sort of factor in this film as well. A lot of there's a lot of sort of themes in this film.
Yeah.
Faith is one of them.
Yeah.
And it's
A
just
deity figure.
yeah,
And why
yeah,
it's sometimes important
yeah.
to have it, because it gives hope to other people when they have none. Like Shmi Skywalker says, terrible actress, terrible character. I do understand.
Dialogue.
Terrible dialogue, but that's George all over. Great world builder, great mind. Absolutely shite at doing dialogue, and he always has done. But there's no issues with dialogue in this movie, Stephen. It's a fantastically written movie. Clearly, I've got issues with dialogue as well. Stephen, this sequence is just beautifully crafted, for lack of a better word, because we have them going to visit the Oracle to find out whether he is the chosen one.
Yeah.
While simultaneously, a little cipher.
He's dropped a phone in the bin.
He's dropped a phone in the bin. He's unleashing his plan to be tethered back up to this mainframe with the machines, get into bed with the agents. All the while, the agent's done with this world. He doesn't want anything to do with it. We find that out later on.
Yeah.
So he's playing him like a fiddle, and so it's necessary that he dies, because that would wreak havoc. The agent is wanting nothing to do with sci-fi. He's using them to get these codes so he can do what the hell he wants. But Stephen, it's a really crafted sequence, beautifully crafted sequence, if I can speak. Cypher's the deception. We see the deja vu sequence with the black cat
I like
and
that.
the panic.
Yeah.
He slithers away and he gets in the phone and obviously gets transported back to that whatever the hell it's called. The Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
He's a deceitful little shit. He's unplugging them, he's shooting them with this energy gun. All the while, we've got Morpheus being taken away. We get to see the agents in full force for the first time in the movie. That sort of fight sequence with him and Agent Smith. Beautiful sequence. All in all, Stephen, I really enjoyed this part in the movie. This was probably about the midway point. It's when things started moving away, I should say, from exposition, introducing the main players and getting into absolute balls to the wall action. It was just beautiful.
That is, John, and some of Hugo Weaving's dialogue through this interrogation scene, another interrogation scene.
Well, I've got it, don't worry.
This time it's more an intense interrogation scene, though, and he's beaten up. Morpheus is he's almost broke at this point.
Yeah.
He's clinging on to hope.
Neo.
That Neo is going to come, and save the day. It's always in the back of my mind, obviously, what the Oracle says, that one of you are going to die. This film can be very deep at times as well, and you can take what you want out of what she's saying. I think that's just to spur him on. That it's to show and sort of test his character, Neo. That is just how far he will go for Morpheus. A man that he's only known through the internet or whatever it was. The early sort of incarnation of the internet. And his reputation, and just. How far are you going to go for this guy?
Refuses to give up.
And how far is he going to go for you as well? But
Yeah.
John, if you want to come in with those quotes just now, because
Stephen,
they're fantastic.
yeah, I mean the back and forth between Agent Smith and Morpheus it's not so much back and forth. It's really just Agent Smith getting tore right in.
Morpheus is out of it.
Yeah, he's completely, but he's rhyming off amazing lines here. I mean, paraphrasing this one slightly, the moment we started thinking for you, it became our civilization. It's evolution, that's all it is. It's like the dinosaurs, the future is ours. You look out at this new world, it's ours. And again, heavily paraphrased, but he's right in what he's saying. Yeah. This line though, Stephen, very long line, but it is magnificent. The way it's wrote, the way it's delivered, it's just beautiful, and it's true. Yeah. And you actually think about it, he is more prescient now than ever, I would say. I want to share a little revelation I had, that humans aren't really mammals. You see, every mammal on this planet instinctively develops a natural equilibrium with the planet, but you humans do not. You move to an area and you multiply until every natural resource is consumed. Yeah. And the only way you can survive is to spread to another area. There is another organism on this planet that follows the same pattern, a virus. Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet, a plague, and we are here to cure. And we are the cure. What a line, Stephen. And when you look at what's going on with the virus spreading all over the place, coronavirus that is, it does mimic humans in the way that we have taken over this planet. We just use every other animal, every resource for our own gain. Yeah. Such a great line. This is an antagonist that's saying this. Yeah. And you can't help but listen to him and say, that guy is goddamn right, man. He is right. But he's wrong as well, because he's an absolute shithead. He's got an agenda as well.
He's got his own agenda, John.
But beautiful, Steve. The fact you've got that blend of that dialogue between these two great characters, whilst downstairs you've got Trinity and Neo absolutely destroying everybody in the path.
Yeah.
That great theme, dun 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 dun. He's walking along walls and there's all sorts of chaos going on. Plasterboards
that
falling.
Sounded like Hey Bulldog there, John. I do know the scene you're talking about. I do know the score is another thing we'll probably touch on as well. It's very unique in this film, but yeah, I mean, you're getting interrogation, you're getting the action, simultaneously. I'm very concerned, John. We've probably got about 8 minutes left in the stream, so
Oh shit.
kind of move on. But this is obviously the first time we see bullet time on the roof as well. After the rescue, Morpheus. From the helicopter, just learning how to fly that helicopter as well again. It's just
really cool, yeah.
I just wish
great exposition.
I wish that happened in real life with a lot of things I would love to learn. But the helicopter scene, the helicopter goes into the building. You're getting that's a great piece of visual effects as well, John.
Fantastic. Age well.
The glass ripples,
Yeah.
And you're getting bullet time. I think this is the first time we see the bullet time in the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how does that hold up for you? Because I felt there was some of it was a little bit, when the camera pans round,
yeah,
it looked a little bit like Sky Sports to me, if you know what I mean.
Well, it was revolutionary, Stephen, at the time. They used about 80 cameras or something, all interspersed evenly around the shot, and that allowed them to create that slow motion sort of moving shot. So it was beautiful at the time, but there is elements of the CG that's been implemented, the bullets, that are a little bit dodgy. I think that's mostly practical though. I think they had actual Keanu Reeves hooked up to a harness so he could move back. So it's aged okay for me. It's not the worst. It's when you start seeing the machinery, those machines at the end, they look god awful, man. They look like the whale in Castaway.
Yeah.
Dreadful, man. Absolutely dreadful. That sequence not too bad though, and it's iconic. You look back, you think about the movie, you think about that, you think about bullet time and Neo moving away. It's just absolutely beautiful. But there's elements that have aged, I do agree. But Stephen, obviously that's taking us into the end sequence.
Yeah.
I think they escape one by one, and I think we do have Neo fighting the agent.
Yeah.
In the train station, I want to say. And again, you've got
subway,
the subway, you've got great dialogue back and forth between these two characters. He's taunting them essentially. He's got the upper hand at this part. Neo, I think, regains the upper hand in the middle.
Yeah.
And then he flings him in front. It's like, I've actually got the quote here. I don't know if I'll find it. But essentially something along the lines of, this is the sound of inevitability.
Yeah.
The sound of your death. My name is Neo. That's the moment where he's like, look, bitch, I ain't Mr. Anderson.
Yeah.
I'm Neo. That's when he regains his confidence and
really
flips
funny.
out.
It's funny, John, because he has an opportunity prior to that to just run. Like Cypher said to him, you see an agent, you run. Well, he was wrong, wasn't he? Because I think at this point, you're right, John. Neo started to believe in himself, and I think Morpheus actually says this in the narration when they're obviously keeping an eye on things on the Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
But you're right, I think at this point it's just the belief is flowing from him at this point.
He does run though, Stephen. He runs away from them,
Yeah,
but
I think because there's more agents coming as well.
he can't win.
No, exactly.
He just can't.
He's very aware. Obviously, the machines in the real world are ready to attack their ship as well. So he's got to get out there so they can power down.
Yeah.
So there's obviously that dilemma as well. But it's a great sequence, John. The chase scene as well. It's very reminiscent of the first chase scene we've seen in the film with
Trinity. Yeah.
Just try to get out of there. And then obviously the corridor scene. It's probably the best part of the film for me.
Yeah.
Just the way he's gunned down as well. He goes through that door and it's a point blank shot to him.
Yeah.
And I think
Not expecting it. It's a sucker punch.
4 or 5 more coming in. And Peter's on. Hi Peter, how you doing? I just saw a comment there. Yeah. I can go back and watch the playback of the show, Peter, John.
If you want to,
yes, exactly.
Maybe not a good idea.
But I think, John, you're right. I think just this corridor scene's probably the best part for me as well. Just the way that he sort of handles the agents at this point shows Morpheus was right from the very beginning.
Yeah, he's the one.
Yeah,
he's the chosen one.
Yeah.
Stephen, it's a magnificent sequence. It really is in that corridor. Just prior to that, it was a great double entendre as well, though. You're empty, and so are you. That was just great. It was sort of figuratively and literally, they're both empty. That was amazing. But we get that sequence in the corridor, and it's when he gets rejuvenated by Trinity. I think it's the kiss. She admits, look, I spoke to the Oracle. She says you'd fall in love with the one. I fell in love with you. She kisses him. That brings him back. when they spin round the agents and they're shocked to complete disbelief, they're shooting away. That moment where he stops the bullets, it's absolutely incredible. In terms of technical, in terms of just everything, and the way that he fights Agent Smith, and he's fighting him with one hand, and it looks like slow motion, and then it speeds up. It's like flash time. How quickly his arms are moving about. That shows you the development from the start of the movie for this character to the end. A man that lacked belief, a man that became bored with life. He was pondering existential questions in his bedroom. He's now the chosen one. He's warping reality. He's fighting with these superhuman sort of antagonists. I just thought that was beautiful. And at a sort of script level and a visual level, it was just absolutely poetic. But I don't know what you make about performances in this movie. And obviously, I mean, we've kind of missed out the god-awful CG machines because they're shite. Essentially, that's god-awful.
Yeah, that's best. That throughout the review anyway, John. But performances, Hugo Weaving for me is probably the standout.
Absolutely.
Although he's not, well, he is one of the main characters, but he's not one of the the heroes of the movie. Certainly not.
Oh, you don't need to be a hero, Stephen, to be the best.
His lines were the best. His action sequences were the best as well. This was probably the first time I saw Hugo Weaving on film. Actually, this was obviously before Lord of the Rings, so it was the first time I saw him, and I was just so impressed by him.
I don't know if I've seen Hugo prior to that, Stephen. No. I'd have to delve back. There may be something, maybe after the point, but certainly not when I was 2 minutes we've got left. We'll need to batter through this very, very quickly then. I'd agree with Hugo. Just his line delivery. He's the best actor in the movie, let's be honest. Him and Lawrence probably. But Keanu's not a great actor. We've spoken about it before. He's a great action actor, but not a great theatre-trained actor by any means. He does what he does, and it's necessary for the movie, but that is what it is. He's not a standout. He's probably a standout character, though. Neil's a standout character for me, but Hugo Weaving, best performance by a mile. Final thoughts on this movie, Stephen? We get that flying shot at the end. That's telling us what's to be for the future of the franchise. When it all goes a bit ridiculous, this, for me, Stephen, is the absolute standout of the Matrix trilogy. It is ever diminishing returns after that point.
Funnily, I was going to say that myself, but it's funny, you get a trilogy of films, you normally want to see them, or you have to see them in sequential order. I can watch The Matrix, the original movie, the 1999 one that we're talking about just now, as a separate film. I don't have to go and see the sequels. I think it's just the way that it's presented, the way that it doesn't really leave you on a cliffhanger. It just shows this is what his life is about now. And you can either watch the sequels or not. It's just very unique, in that sense. When you get a trilogy of films, you normally have to watch every one of them, really, to very much like Back to the Future. You can watch Back to the Future, the original film, on its own, and you don't have to go back and see the sequels. It's just the way it's written.
Stephen, I don't think I'd go back and watch the sequels now. At the time, I liked Reloaded, but the twins were okay, but ever diminishing returns. This is a standout. This is a great self-contained story. It's pioneering in a technical level, as I did say. It's a modern-day classic for me, Stephen. I don't want to see them going back and doing a fourth one, but that's for another day. That's going to round up our review. It's going to be very disjointed. I will have to walk off the shot again. Need to find out how to end these streams a little bit more professionally. But look, guys, if you've enjoyed the content and you're enjoying us waffling a lot of crap about retro movies, anything in general, you can comment below and let us know what your thoughts are down below in the comment section in the live chat, whatever the hell you're doing. You can also subscribe to the channel if you're enjoying the content and like the video. And if you do, then you will see us back again for more live streams and Lord knows what else in the future. Time to do my Leslie Nielsen, is it? No cut.